Hello everyone, I am Sharanya PS, Assistant Professor, Department of ISC, AJ Institute of Engineering and Technology, Mangalore. In this video lecture, I will be dealing about Module 5 of the subject C Programming for Problem Solving. Module 5 majorly consists of three major aspects: structures, pointers, and preprocessor directives. Here, in this session, I will be completely dealing about structures. In the previous lecture videos, I have covered about arrays. What is an array? Why we opt the arrays? Arrays is a collection of elements of same data type, and we opt the arrays if we want to store some values in a large amount. Say for example, if I want to store the student marks. Under those situations, arrays are best suitable. Suppose, if the problem statement is, I want to store the complete details about the student, which will contain name, ID and marks of the student. Is it enough to store by using arrays? Like that, I want to store the details of the student present in the entire class. In such situation, arrays will be giving a so much complex. That is, I have to consider a separate array for name, ID and marks for one student and second student, third student, like that. It is a very complex task. In order to overcome these kinds of problems, here now let us discuss about structure. What is structure? Structure is a collection of elements of same or different data types under a single name. In the sense, in the arrays, we could able to store the values or the elements which is of a same data type or homogeneous data types. Like if I want to store the names, then in that kind, it is all the values are of character data type. If I want to store the marks, and all the elements of the array are of integer data type. Here, structure is allowing us to store the elements of different data types, like it can be character data values, or it may be integer, or it may be float. All these can be clubbed together under a single name and we can keep it together. That is where we are making use of this structure concept. So this structure is a user-defined data type. That is, user based on his requirement they are defining. That's why it is called as a user-defined data type, and which is majorly used to group the elements of different data types into a single type. So by using this user-defined data type, what I referred as a structure, we can club together the different data types that we are using. That is, which may be integer, float, character, all those can be clubbed together as a single data type that we call it as a structure. So here, the major keyword that we use here is a struct to indicate it is a special data type rather than the primitive data types. Now, we'll see what is the definition of the structure, how we can define the structure. First, the syntax is as follows. We have to write the struct keyword. This is the mandatory. And then here we have to mention the name, tag name, or the, like as we give the variable name, same way, here we are giving the structure name. And then we are opening the bracket, braces, and here we are clubbing together the different members of that structure. In the sense, suppose first we will mention the data type and then variable, and then second data type and second variable name, like that. Here it can be any kind of data type and the name of that corresponding variable. So in this structure, we have combined together different kinds of data type all together. And please note, the structure is ending with a semicolon. If we see the example, it will be much more clear. That is, we have to begin with the struct keyword, and tag name is the name for the structure what we are creating now. That is, employee is the structure name, and after that we have to open the braces, and then after that here the data type we are mentioning character and the variable name, that is name, and which is of a character array. So total 20 memory location is allocated, and one more data type, it is a float, and one more is a integer with employee number. So now if we look into this complete definition of the structure, the name of the structure is employee, and which consists of three different variables of different data types. That is, one is character, float, and integer. These we call it as a structure members. This we refer as a structure name, and this as a structure members. All these we have clubbed together, and we are referring by the structure name as employee. So under this employee, we can keep the details of the each employee's name, salary, and employee number. This is how we can overcome the problem that we are facing with respect to arrays by using user-defined data type structure. And now we'll see how we can create or declare the structure variable. By defining the structure, just we have defined the user-defined data type by the name employee. Here, by mentioning like this, we have not yet created any memory location to store the values for this employee. In order to perform that, we have to declare the struct variable. That we can perform by using struct, the structure name what we have created, and the different variable name which is of a type structure. See here, if we look into the example, struct is the keyword and employee is the structure name, and employee 1 and employee 2 are the variables of struct employee. We'll see with an diagram how this will be allocating the memory. That is, with this struct, and this is a syntax what we follow. Here struct and employee is the structure name, and employee 1 and employee 2 are the variables of structure. That is, if we look into in detail about this, here with respect to struct employee, this will be something like, as we are mentioning the data type. As we observe, the structure is a user-defined data type. The struct employee act like a data type, that is like integer, float, all those. So here if it struct employee, after this we have to mandatorily mention the variable names, right? Like a comma b. That is what we are doing with respect to this statement. That is, struct employee is the new data type, user-defined data type, that is defined by using the structure definition, and we are referring with that new data type, and we are creating the variables for that user-defined structure variable. That is what we are following with this statement. And please note here the struct employee, employee 1 and employee 2, we normally write it inside the main function. Structure is defined before the main. Soon after, we are declaring the header files in the program. And now we'll see how this will look like if we declare the struct employee or the structure by the name employee. Here it consists of three different data type: name, salary, and employee number. When we create like this, or when we define the structure employee, just in the this kind of different variables will be getting created. But as of now, no memory will be allocated. Just we have created a data type, user defined data type employee, and we have defined these name, salary and employee number as a member of the structure employee. In order to create the memory location, we have to make use of struct employee. This is the user defined data type, you can consider like that, and employee 1 and employee 2 are the variable names. So what this employee 1 will contain, that is, it is acts like a copy of this what we have referred as a structure. That is, employee will contain name, salary and employee number. For that, when we refer like this, it will create the memory location for employee 1 as well as to the employee 2. So, it will create a photocopy of this structure by the name employee 1 as well as it will allocate the memory location. This is what it happens when we write the structure definition and when we define the structure variable like this. And so what is the total memory allocation now? Here, because it is consists of different data types. We used to calculate the memory based on the kind of the data what we are storing. Here first we are storing character and then float and integer. So now the question is, what is the total memory allocated for this employee? That is employee 1 and employee 2. So if we calculate that, this name will be allocated with 20. That is nothing but character will hold 1 byte of data. So total 20, and float will consist of 4 bytes. So 24, and integer will consume 2 bytes. So for this structure employee, total 26 bytes of memory will be allocated. So depending on the structure member, the memory allocation will be varying. Now, how we can store some values to this structure variables or structure members? In order to do that, we have to assign the values to the structure members. That is what we call it as a structure initialization. The syntax what we follow here is struct and then tag name. These are our mandatory, and then we will mention to which variable we are storing the value. Now if you look into the example here, struct employee, and we have created two different variables of structure, that is employee 1 and employee 2. Now I am storing the values to employee 1. And is this values are single values? No, it consists of this employee 1 will have 3 different values need to be stored. That is, one is name and salary and ID. That's why we are storing all these values all together when we initialize. Now, when we write like this in the memory, this is how it will be allocated. That is, employee EMP 1. There is 3 different structure members, that is name, salary and employee number. For that, it will store the values or initialize the values whichever it is given by the user. That is Raj 1000 and 001. This is how it will be stored. So this is how we can define, declare and initialize a structure. Now if we club all these together as a program, this is what we are referring. That is, structure definition is nothing but we are initially defining a new data type by the name. That is, struct is a keyword that we are using, and structure name that we follow here is a employee, or we call it as a tag name. And under that we have clubbed these 3 different data types together. This we call it as a structure members. And this is what we are writing in the very beginning of the program after writing the header file. This is what we call it as a structure definition. Next, after that, when we write like this. This is how it will be referred. And next is the structure declaration. That is like as we are declaring the variables or arrays or strings, same way we have to declare the structure. For that, one mandatory thing we have to follow is we have to write the struct keyword and followed by structure name. That is like a data type, user defined data type what we referred. So we can have to write that, and employee 1 and employee 2 are the structure variables. That is how we have declared the two new structure variables. Next step is to structure initialization. This is how after declaration this employee 1 and employee 2 will have the different structure members, and correspondingly it will contain the memory allocation. After that, when we refer to the initialization, we have to mention struct employee. This is the structure name what we referred along with the keyword struct, and employee 1 is a structure variable, and we are storing Raj 1001. So after this is how it will be stored in under employee 1 structure variable. And then struct employee 2, we are storing Taj 2002. This is how under the name employee 2 it will store the details. Now after that, yes, we have defined the structure, and then we have created the structure variable, and we have initialized the values as well. Now if I want to access the members of the structure, what we can do? That is possible by using the dot operator. The members of the structure is identified and accessed using the dot operator. That is, here we are mentioning the structure variable. This is very important because from which structures variable we are accessing the members. And then we have to mention the member name. Now we'll look into the example how this can be considered by using dot operator. This is the structure what I am referring, which is the employee structure, where I have created a different data type which will store name, salary and employee number. This is 3 different data types are all clubbed together under this structure. And this is what we refer as a structure definition, and this is what we referred as a structure initialization, that is struct employee E under the same name. That is, while declaring the structure variable, I have initialized as well. This is something like as we follow integer a equal to 10. Suppose if I mention, this is what we can do like this, right? So same way here what we have written, this integer is nothing but struct employee, a is nothing but e here, that is a variable name, and equal to symbol, and this 10 is a single word, and here we have to write all the values for the structure members, that is for name, salary and employee name. That's why everything is clubbed together and written in the braces. This is how the initialization is done. Now coming to how we can access these values, that is by using the dot operator. For that, we have to first mention the structure variable name, that is E, and then what is the structure member name, that is name here. E, structure name, it is structure variable name, and then this is the content of the structure, that is structure member name, and then if we mention like this, E dot name is nothing but refers to employee's name, so it will be referring to Raj. And if I want to access this salary, then I have to mention E dot salary. E refers to there's a variable name, and salary refers to in particular what is the name of the structure member. And next one, e dot employee number. These what we are writing, name or salary, and employee number is with respect to what we have defined under the structure. It need to match. This is how we can access a structure. Now, how we can display the various members of the structure? We are clear how we can access, that is by using the dot operator. First, we have to mention the variable of the structure or the name of the structure variable and dot operator and the member of the structure. Now, if we want to display, we are using the printf statement. And now we are using %yes, and after that we are mentioning e dot name. What is this e dot name refers to? That is employee is dot name. That is first employee what we have stored its name. And second, if we want to print the salary, we are using %f and e dot salary. E is refers to variable that we have created for the structure employee. And next, e dot employee number prints the employee number. In the same way, if we want to read the values of various members of the structure, we have to use the scanf statement. %yes. I hope it is clear why we have not used ampersand, because it is a string. E dot name reads the employee name, and ampersand after that e dot salary reads the salary of the employee. Same way, ampersand e dot employee number reads the employee's ID. And if we see what we have discussed till now, that is we have created the structure for the employee, and then we have declared the variable, and then we are accessing the structure members, all those if we club together as a program to read the employee number, name, salary, and print the details. First, we have started with the header file, and we are creating the user-defined data type structure. This can be done by using the keyword struct followed by tag name or the structure name that we write here as a employee. And then here the different structure members we have to declare, that is character name with the 20 as the size of this character array, and then salary and employee number. And please note here it is ending with the semicolon. And the next we have to write inside the main important point, we have to create the variable for this structure employee, struct employee. This can be performed by using struct employee, and the variable we have created is e, that is only one variable is created, and this will contain all these three structure members. Now enter the name, number, and salary of the employee. How we can do? That is, in order to particularly store the name, number, and salary, we have to read the values from the user by referring the dot operator. That is, we are using scanf with format specifiers, and then e dot name refers to, e is a structure variable name, and then after that we are mentioning the variable structure member name. So this refers to this what we are mentioning, and e dot employee number and e dot salary. So this is how one by one contents are read from the user. Now if we want to display, we are using printf with the format specifiers, and e dot name, e dot employee number, and e dot salary will print the details. This is how we can define the structure. Here we have defined the structure variable, and then this is how we have read and printed the contents to the structures. This is what we refer as a structure definition and structure declaration with the variable E. And this is by using these two statements, we read and printed the details. This is how the output will look like. Enter the name, salary, and number of employee, and here the user is entering the details, and with the printer statement, it is entered name, salary, and number of employee. It is printing back onto the output screen. This is how we can make use of the structure to get the complete details of the employees and store it in a separate data type. Now we'll see one of the major aspect, that is arrays inside the structure and array of structure, how these two terminologies differs. First we'll see what is arrays inside the structure. We already know what is meant by arrays and we are clear about structures. Now we will try to understand this arrays which is present inside the structure. If we look into the example here, we are started with the structure student, which will contain three different members. That is, one is name and one more USN and marks. And this marks is nothing but the array, that is, which is of a type integer, and we have allocated three different storage for this marks as a array name. So if you look into how it will be looking, this is the array of marks as a data member. That is, here array is present inside the structure student. This is what the meaning is. And we follow the same. Here we are creating the variable for the structure student, and then we are using two variables I and n. Enter the USN and name. We are asking for the user to enter the USN and name. And here this marks is an array, so we have to make use of a looping concepts to read the marks that is entered by the user. That is, it will contain more than one values. And total is a one more integer variable. This is not a total, is not a array. So we are taking the values from the user, that is %d, %yes is being used in under scanf statement to refer to USN and name respectively, because USN is an integer and the name is a character or a string that we refer here. And ampersand yes dot USN is refers to yes is a structure variable name. Next, if we look into this, how it will be created by defining this structure student yes, this is how it will look like. Name, USN, marks, total, and the marks here we could see it as a array. And when we start inputting the values, this is how it will look like. That is, first enter the marks in three subjects. It is we have already taken the values for name and USN. Now we are asking for the user to enter the marks. And please note here, this marks we have defined it as a array. So we have to make use of a for loop to read the values for the marks variable. That is a array which will contain more than one values. Maximum we can store 3 marks. That is, I is beginning with 0, I is less than 3, I plus plus. That is, with the scanf statement, we are reading one by one values to this marks. That is, marks of 0, marks of 1 and marks of 2. That's it. This I refers to the index present in the array. So, ampersand yes dot marks of I in the very beginning, it is refers to the first index value. It will be referred and it will be stored. And next step is to find the total. That is by referring to three different marks, it need to find the total, and that total need to store under S dot total. That is S dot total, which we have initialized to 0 initially, plus S dot marks of I. So these values are added together and the final result will be stored in S dot total variable. What is this S refers to? This S is the structure variable name. And now finally we are printing the details. Student with USN and name as total marks that we are, in order to print, once again we have to refer this structure members by referring to the structure name. Here S refers to structure variable name. We cannot directly use student. It is not allowed. Instead of that, we have to create a variable for that structure, and with that variable name only we have to refer the structure student. And this is how we can refer to the program which will compute the marks and then calculating the total. If we look into this, we stored the Raj 101 and marks as 20, 30 and 40. And finally, it will be displaying the calculated value along with the USN name and total marks. Student with USN 101 and name Raj has total marks of 180. This is how it will be printed. And next concept is array of structure. Now we have seen the array inside the structure. Now what is this array of structure? We'll look into one example which will make use of array of structure. Structure we are creating like a array. This we can fulfill by defining here in the structure variable declaration, that is struct employee E of 10. What this is what we refer as a array of structures. This is now to store the multiple values of this employee details. Now we have, in the previous example, we have created one employee details by defining one variable name, E1. And next we can create one more variable, E2, like that. But suppose if we want to create store around 1,000 employee details, in that particular case, is it a very good way to keep defining the different variable names? No. For that, we can make use of the arrays. That is what we are defined by using struct employee E of 10. Here 10 refers to the size of the array. That is, here we are creating the array of structures. If you look into, we are asking for the user to enter the number of employees. Now we are clear that it will allocate E of 0, E of 1, E of 10, 3, like that till E of 10. It could able to store the values of name, salary and employee number. So here it is asking enter the number of employees. Now if we look into how it will be displayed as a diagrammatic, if we try to understand what this means, first it is creating the structure by using the structure definition. The structure that we refer is an employee with structure members, name, salary and employee number. And after that, here with the point struct employee E of 10, what it defines, it creates an array of structures. That is, E of 0, it will have the structure members name, salary and employee. It will allocate the storage, and then E of 1, it will have the same structure members, and under E2, this E of 0, E of 1 and E of 2, all these refers as a index values. Here also index will begin with the 0 since we are referring it as a array. And all will have this storage will be allocated for 10 different employee since 10 is the maximum count. And then the values, how much ever it is required, we can make use depending on the requirement. If you look into the example here, first with the loop we are processing it because it is an array of structures. That is, it is not having only one variable. Here it is having a set of variables. That is something that we are creating the array of structures. That is, which will contain n is a user, how many number of employees that is given. That value will be considered as n. And here we are asking for the user to enter the details of the employees. And here we have to take the values of name, salary and employee number. And we are storing it under e of I dot name, that is e of 0 dot name, and next e of 0 dot salary, e of 0 dot employee number. In the next iteration, e of 1 dot name, e of 1 dot salary, e of 1 dot employee number, like that. In each structure, it will store the values. That is, under this we have to read the name, salary and employee number, and for the next index we have to, or the next array element, we have to read the values like that depending on the number of employees details we have to fetch. This is how, if we need to store a multiple values, we can make use of array of structures. And after that, if we try to print the values, details of employee, enter the name, salary and employee number, is it is going to print the details clearly. And if we look into the output, enter the number of employees, we are giving the input as 2, and details of the employee, it is taken from the user, and then it asks for the details of the employee 2. It is taking the 3 different values, that is name, salary and employee ID, and then it is printing the values in the order. These are all performed by using the for loop. If we look into one of the example program to read the employee name, employee number, name, salary and print the details if the salary is greater than 5,000. The same concept what we have discussed we are following. We have created the structure with the for the employee by using struct employee, and we have created the array of structure, and we are reading the number of employee, and we are reading each elements to the structure, that is enter the details of the employee, and then here the name, salary and the number of employees, everything is collected. And then here the major point that we have to check is, it is in the problem statement, it is asked to ask the details of the employee whose salary is greater than 5,000. Where the salary is present, how we can assess, that is by using e of I dot salary. So the major condition we have to check is if e of I dot salary is greater than 5,000. If that is true, then we are printing the details of those particular employees, and these need to be worked under the loop because it is an array of values. It is depending on the number of employee it is given, it need to process with all the employee details. This is how it will look. And if we look into the output, enter the number of employees and then details of the employee 1, it asks for the user to enter, and then for 2 different employees it asks for the user to enter the details, and then after that it details of the employee whose salary is greater than 5,000, that is Raj's salary is more than that, that will be getting Raj's salary is greater than 5,000, that will be printed onto the screen. And next is how we can pass the structure to the functions. We have already come across the concept of the functions. Now we have to consider how we can pass this entire structure that we have created to a function. That is, here we are referring to a function called add. If you look into the first, we have defined the structure soon after declaring the header file with the two structure members A and B, and inside the main we have created the structure variable P, and then we are taking the two values. Ampersand P dot A will store the value entered to the variable structure member A, and P dot B will store the value to B variable of the structure addition. And then we are calling the add function, and please note here we are passing the entire structure that we have created. That is nothing but the structure that we created. We are referring with the variable P that we are passing as a argument here, and correspondingly we have defined the function, that is add struct addition P. That is, here we have to match to the same structure. Since we are passing the structure same, we need to match in the function definition as well. Struct addition P, and inside this we are accessing the value what we have stored in the structure addition. That is, we are computing the final result and storing it in C, and we can perform that by referring to the value stored in that by using P dot A plus P dot B. P refers to the structure name, that is nothing but structure variable name P, and then the sum is, it is going to be printed onto the output screen. This is how we can pass the entire structure to a function. If you look into one more application program to add two complex numbers by passing structure as a function argument. If we look into the addition of any complex numbers, which can be addition or subtraction, and suppose if there is a 5 plus 3i and 4 plus 2i, in that we have to perform the addition of 5 and 4 plus first, and then 3 and 2 we have to perform the addition, and then we have to display. This is how real and imaginary part will be added together and displayed. The same way we are following with the program. We have created a structure complex where it contains two different structure members. One is real and imaginary, and after that we are creating a function void add, and we are taking two different structure. That is, one is struct complex C1 and C2 are the structure variables, and then inside that we are trying to perform the addition as we followed in the previous program. That is, one small change in this is we are trying to add the complex part of this first number with the corresponding complex part of the second number, that we are performing with C1 dot real plus C2 dot real. That is, real part we are combining with the first complex numbers and second complex number. We are trying to add and store it in the result. And then here we are storing it in temp dot real and temp dot imaginary. That is all same. It is going to be stored. And in the same way, C1 dot imaginary plus C2 dot imaginary. And we are trying to print sum is temp dot real and temp dot imaginary. And if you look into the main, enter the real and imaginary of the first complex number. It is asked for the user to enter, and then after that it reads the values and then enter the real and imaginary of the second complex number. It is asked for the user to enter. So 2 and 4 are the values that is entered by the user for the first complex number, and 6 and 8 that is entered by the second complex number. Our main intention of this program is to add 6 plus 2 and store the and display the result, that is 8. And 4 plus 8 we have to add it together and display the result along with mentioning the imaginary part. This is how we can build one kind of the application program which make use of the structures inside the function. Next is what is meant by a nested structure. A structure which is present inside the another structure, we call it as a nested structure. Here there are two types. One we call it as a embedded structure and one more as a two-structure declaration. If you look into the embedded structure declaration, as the name says, there will be one major structure definition. Inside that, we are using one more structure definition. Here, the first structure is the employee that we have created. Inside that, there are three different structure members, that is employee name, salary and employee ID. And there is one more structure that we are using in order to store the value of date, because date consists of three different values: date, month and year. That is date of birth that we are want to store. So in order to refer to, suppose if we want to check in particular the year, then by using this nested structure we can refer in particularly the year as well. So here we have defined integer date, integer month and integer y as a structure member of structure date. And here itself we are creating the variable for the structure date. This is one more way of creating the structure variable. One is inside the main we are creating by referring struct employee or any structure, struct keyword, structure name and then variable. One more way, when we are defining the structure itself, if we are defining the structure variable, this is how we can refer. This is the inner structure and which is present in the outer structure employee. And if we look into the layout here, how it looks: name, salary and employee ID are the structure member of employee, and date is one more structure that we have created inside the employee structure. And if we want to access these values, how we can process? We have created struct employee. E is a structure variable, and here if we want to refer to the structure which is present inside this E, then we have to mention E dot date of joining. This is a variable name. Dot D, that is structure name. E, this is E refers to, and date of joining is a variable or the member of the structure, and inside that here if we refer this date, instead of date we are referring it as a date of joining. That is we have to mention E dot date of joining dot D, that is refers to the D what we are defined inside that. That is here what we are referring. And then date of joining of the employee, if we want to fetch, here we are storing the values, and if we want to fetch, first we have to mention the outer structure variable name, that is E, and then after that we have to mention the inner structure name, that is date of joining, and then we have to mention the variable or the structure member name. Please note I missed here, that is E dot date of joining is a inner structure name. E is the outer structure name, date of joining is the inner structure name, and the D refers to the actual structure member name. This is how we can work with the nested structure. And one more way we can define the nested structure by defining two different structure declaration. That is date we have defined it separately, and one more we have referred as a employee. And inside this employee structure we are just defining the structure variable, that is struct date. This refers to the structure that is already created, and we are just referring with respect to structured variable, that is date of joining, that is indirectly refers to the structure date. This is the one more way how we can refer the nested structure. The same way we need to refer E dot date of joining is the E is the outer structure name and date of joining is the inner structure name and D is the structure member. This is how we need to process with each of the structure variable name, and then first we have to mention the outer structure variable name, next inner structure name, and then after that the member of the structure name we have to specify. This is how we can make use of the nested structure. So if we look into the output here, date of joining of the employee is 10. That is here the 10 is fetched by using E dot date of joining dot D. This is how we can make use of a nested structure. And one more kind of structure that we can create, or the one more way of creating the structures is by using type def. Here we are mentioning the special keyword called as type def. Instead of struct keyword, we are making use of a type def, and here after that we are using the struct, and then we are mentioning the tag name at the end. If you look into the example, type def struct, this is mandatory. Struct is the keyword which is mandatory for the structure. Along with that, we are defining the type def, this struct type def, and then here at the end we are defining the employee. This is one more way how we can create the structures by using the type def keyword. And if you look into the difference between arrays and the structure, we have already discussed about the arrays, and now we have discussed about the structures as well. The main difference between this arrays and structure is the arrays is a collection of elements of same data type, whereas the structure is a collection of elements of different data type. And in the array which we refer is a derived data type, whereas structure is a user defined data type. And here the arrays contents that we are trying to fetch or access by using the index of the arrays, whereas in the structures members are accessed by using the dot operator. And here the array is a pointer to the first element of it, that is there will be a pointer which is pointing to the first element of the array when we create it, whereas in the structure there is no such pointers are exist. And if we look into the example, this is how the array is defined. Int a is the array name and 10 is allocated memory for this array, whereas in the structure we have to make use of the struct keyword and then tag name or structure name, and then we have to define the structure members. Along with that, we are ending the open braces and closing braces with the like we are clubbing together all these different data types together, and we are closing this closing braces with a semicolon. This is a major difference between the arrays and structures. In the upcoming session, we will be discussing about pointers in details. Thank you for listening.